Hey, this is part 2 of my reading vlog. If you don't want to be confused going into this video, I highly recommend you go and watch part 1. For part 1, I read Ferrito Rama, which included starting and finishing Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. And a few different things happened with my cat, which is why I continued this reading vlog. I ended up sending her to the vet. And part 2 is where it gets resolved. In this part, I am also going to be doing some more reading and unboxing. So, it's going to be a good time. Okay, I thought I would update since it's the next day. Don't really remember the last thing I said, not gonna lie. There is an update on the cat. She's doing much better today. She's eating, drinking. So, that's good. She did have a seizure, but I think that it's one that she's, like, due for. Like, I don't know if it's the same in people or not, but I know with cats and maybe dogs, too, there's, like, sometimes they can be kind of cyclical. Like, for Remy, she'll go a few months without one, and then there will be, like, a week or two where she might have, like, 2 to 4, but then she'll stop. So I think that that was like a normal seizure for her. I don't think that it was anything big and bad, and she got out of it by herself, without needing anything extra. I think they gave her some anti-anxieties just to be safe, but I'm still gonna pick her up. I'm gonna pick her up at like the last possible minute so that they can still keep watching her, just in case something changes, but nobody's called me to say that anything is wrong, so I'm assuming we're still good, and I'll be picking her up at like 10. It's 4:30 right now. I did do some reading. I started Esperanza Rising. This does not have a cover because it's a strip copy. Basically, there's something like wrong with the book. I know there's this page. It's like weird, but I don't know if there's anything else. And I work at a bookstore, so we're supposed to take these, strip them, and they get recycled, I guess. I don't usually do that, but employees are allowed to take a limited number of them home if they wanted to read them. This is the only one I've ever taken because I remembered hearing something about the book, and, you know, this was free and I was interested in it. I actually forgot what it was about by the time I actually started to read it. I decided that it would be a good idea for me to read something that's a little bit easier to get through for a minute because I can feel myself going into a reading slump, and I don't want to do that. So I thought about reading Mooncakes, but I thought middle grade might be good because like the writing is going to be really simple or more simple. It's going to be easier to get through. And this would probably fit something for the Latinx book bingo, which I still haven't looked, but it's fine. And it's really interesting so far, and I think it's going to be an interesting companion to the Undocumented Americans, if I read that one right after I'm done with this, because in this is set in the 1930s, and the main character is a girl who lives in this family who's really well off in Mexico, but after this big event happens, they are no longer rich, so she ends up moving to the United States with her mom so that they can work and get money because they can't even be where they're at anymore. It's really interesting so far. I'm on page 90, so I'm about maybe a little over a quarter of the way through, and there's a lot of discussion about classism and a little bit about racism or colorism, and I think that it's handled well especially for a middle grade, because when it comes to adult books, you can do different things with like certain nuances, but with middle grade, I feel like it's harder to get the balance between showing and telling, especially with social issues, and I think this is pretty good. So, that's what I've got. I also have so much grading to do. So much grading. I have to have everything in by Friday, and I have a lot of discussion posts to look at still and grade. And it is just so hard to focus on things that are actual real life. It has been hard to focus on anything that's actual real life since, like, March. Or really, to be honest, since, like, November of last year. So, it's gonna be an interesting time, but I'm going to try to cram and get as much done tonight as I can. In theory. I'll probably start that a little bit later just because I'm not mentally prepared. I just got done dealing with a bunch of stuff, trying to figure out how to pay for my cat's stuff. So it's been stressful, so I may just eat chocolate and watch YouTube videos or play in a video, which this is turning into me just rambling, but I've put out a lot of videos recently, and it's like when I have a bunch of stuff to do and I'm stressed out, the only thing that my brain can let me focus on for an extended length of time and really get into that like flow state is making content. I feel like it's a problem, but I don't really know how to fix it or what I should do with it. Does anybody else get like that with like random stuff? It's like your brain will let you focus, but it's only on one thing and it's never something that actually needs to be done. Like, I'm not in dire need of putting together another video when I have 2 that are waiting and another one that needs to be edited, but my brain is like, let's film a video. You're wearing a shirt today. Like, coming up with some, like, random excuse. I don't know. We'll see what happens. And if nothing else, I'll check back in when Remy is back home. I have a bit of an update despite not reading anything since I last checked in, but I do have a cat update. She will be staying another night. She had another seizure, so that's 2 today, and while 1 is within the realm of like relatively normal for her, 2 in a day is kind of a lot. So they're going to watch her for another day and make sure that nothing is wrong. She's still eating, she's still drinking, she's fairly perky. Even like between the seizures she was perky, which is great. Because one of the big things that's really worrisome is when they're like in a seizure and then go into another one. So it wasn't like 2 in succession, which would be a problem. So hopefully she'll be fine for the rest of the day. Or night, whatever time is, and hopefully I'll be able to pick her up tomorrow. She is being very needy. Aren't you, Tonks? You're always needy. She just likes sitting on me. I'm about halfway done grading my stuff, which is excellent. And it shouldn't take me too much longer. Stuff like this always takes less time than I think that it's going to be. The actual grading takes less time, but the entering grades in takes more time than I expect. There is something else relevant that I was going to say, but it's gone, so hopefully it's not too important. But I guess I will check in tomorrow whenever something happens. Yeah. Look who's home. She's still so sleepy. Hi, baby. Baby is home. Her face is so messy. Every time you go to the vet, you come home with a messy face. Do you not know how to eat the food they give you? Are you gonna go explore? Ooh, she's got fancy paws. Oh, now she's going. Oh, there she goes. Bye. Hey, sweet baby. Hey, sweet baby. She's got fancy feet in the front. She's wearing her Uggs. And she's also got a fancy foot in the back that you can't see. She was stinky and kept pulling out her IV. But that's okay. as she was sweet the rest of the time. See that stinky face? Nope, you can't anymore. Well, that's the only real thing that I have to say today. It's Wednesday. It's, well, technically Thursday as of 9 minutes ago, but it's still Wednesday to me. I haven't really read a lot. I told myself I was going to work on stuff, and I worked on a little bit, and then watched a lot of YouTube. Then I went to work, did not read on my 15. Oh, Remy, what you doing? But that is okay. Once I actually finish grading my stuff, I'll read more of Esperanza Rising. And it's a little bit off topic at this point, because it's, she's lying on my computer now. I don't know if you'll be able to hear this. Remy, baby. I'm sorry. You can't lay on that. I've got to talk. And you'll push so many buttons. But something book related. I was talking to one of my coworkers, and they were talking about their classes, and apparently they read Ari and Dante in their adolescent lit class. And first of all, that would be really cool to read. Second of all, it was interesting because I took that class like several years ago, but they had a totally different selection of books, which is cool because that means that they're updating it. But anyways, I got to talk about Ari and Dante today. It made my heart happy, and it made me have a lot of feelings, but yes. I should grade papers so that I can read, but I'm probably gonna get tea or something, maybe coffee. Maybe coffee's a bad idea. I don't know if I need that caffeine or not. I'm gonna get something beverage-like and work on my stuff or watch YouTube. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's Thursday. If anyone is watching at this point or interested in any sort of update, there's been no reading to be had. I had a super fun time this morning trying to figure out her medicine. When the vet explained everything last night, the way that he explained it, I thought there were only 2 extra medicines, but there were 3, and all 3 of them have to be given at different times, even though he told me about 2 different times, and I was confused, on top of trying to figure out what exactly to feed her, because they said, oh, just plain chicken and rice, but like how much, so I had to figure that out. They both seemed to like it. I feed them both the same thing because they'll eat out of each other's bowls anyways. Plus, chicken and rice is cheaper than the special food that I have to get for Remy's bladder crystals, so there's that. So it's 11 o'clock almost, and I am finally making my own food. I'm using leftover rice because I made way too much rice for how much chicken there is. So I am probably gonna watch some YouTube and then grade some papers. I don't know. I'm tired, y'all. I just want to sleep. I've been up since like 6:30 because she has to get one of her meds that early. It's gonna be an interesting time, an interesting week. I have no reading updates. The only cat update is that Tonks is being a dick to Remy. I think Remy maybe still smells like the vet, but it's been over 12 hours. You need to get over yourself. Anyways, I'm here again because I have book mail. I won a giveaway to receive a copy of Cemetery Boys, which is fantastic. I originally I hadn't paid for it, but at the bookstore you can either have it shipped to your home or shipped to store, and you pay for it after you get it if you get it shipped to the store. I like doing ship to store. I wasn't working at the time, so it didn't technically make sense, but I wanted the excuse to go in and shop more. But then the number of classes that I got slowed down, so I was broke. But I won this giveaway, so I'm excited. So I'm gonna do an unboxing. And it feels like they might have used a lot of packaging material, which would be cool, but it also makes noise when you shake it. So I'm not sure what else is in here. I wonder if they said in the giveaway. I'll look afterwards, I'll open it, and it'll be a surprise, and then I'll double check the giveaway, because all I saw was Cemetery Boys, and I was there for it. I'd already followed the person. It's somebody that I think I interact with a fair amount. I will put their Instagram stuff in the description so that you can check them out, because they're really cool. I might need scissors. Okay. There are so many things, and they're all Halloweeny. Okay, this is really exciting. Remembering their picture, maybe this stuff was in there. It has been so long and so much has happened. I don't even know anything at the moment, but we have Halloween socks, which is beautiful. I love themed socks. We have candy, so that's great. Love some candy. Ooh, love some pencils. Oh, Halloween face masks. That's so festive. I'll have to wear those if I work near Halloween. Save them since they're, yeah, awesome. There is, oh, it's like a squishy, like a stim toy or stress ball. It's a cat. Jelly beans. Monster Mash jelly beans. There's Pez. He's so angry. I love it. Or spooky, I guess. Another pencil. A keychain. Scary dude's got a little jack-o'-lantern. And what is this? It says that it stains clothing, possibly. It looks like maybe putty or slime. It's probably slime. That's awesome. There's a note. If I can open it, I can read it. There we go. Oh, it comes with stickers. Hi, Beck. Thanks for entering the giveaway. I hope you enjoyed this book as much as I did. I included a few Halloween goods. I hope you like them. You'll also find a signed book plate that came with the book. Awesome. I look forward to your review. Happy Halloween month. From A Queer Book Nook. Is there... I almost said URL. Listen. This is where my brain is. This is where my brain has been. But it is so cute. I love the stickers. I love the Halloween spirit in all of this. And, oh, there's stickers on the bottom too. Hell yeah. We have some spooky, scary skeletons. And it looks like a witch and a spider. And other general Halloween cheer. But the most important part. I'm so excited. There it is. Ooh, the book plate. Which I don't even know where I should put this. I've never had a signed book plate before. I found signed books and had books signed, but I've never had like a name plate. Would I put it here or closer to the inside? It seems like it would be more stable on these pages because it's thicker paper. Where do y'all usually put your book plates? I've seen it before with other people, but it's so different when it's there and when it's yours. There's a little skull. I'm so excited. I said I was going to finish those other two books because I'm in the middle of Esperanza Rising and the Undocumented Americans, as well as like over 5 other books. but I might have to pause them and just read Cemetery Boys. But I cannot read this book until I'm done grading. If I check back in before I'm done grading and said that I've read anything, y'all have to, like, cyberbully me. Not literally, because I'm too soft for that, but I'm just so happy. I'm ecstatic. And I am stoked to wear these Halloween socks. Yes. Thank you so much to the Queer Book Nook for having this giveaway and spreading the Halloween cheer so efficiently. Now, I'm gonna put up my goodies and maybe get to actually grading so that I can read some queer, spooky, gay boys. This is an interjection from editing Beck, because apparently I did not check in when I was done grading. I got done Thursday night, and then immediately went into other bits and pieces that I had to put together for other class-related things, and I didn't read, so I guess I didn't bother to mention it. But all of my crap was done, which is why I got to sit and read for the next clips. It is Friday, which means I have some online classes to teach. I've already taught one. We talked about National Coming Out Day, and it was a good time. I've got a few other ones, some feminist studies, some LGBT history. It should be a good time, but I do have fairly large breaks between the classes, so I'm going to be reading between those classes, and I've decided that I'm going to finish Esperanza Rising first. I know it's not going to take very long because I read that much in an hour, and I've got an hour break between two of my classes, or really I think all of my classes I have an hour-long break. I've just used a half an hour of this one to do other things. But if I finish this much in an hour, I feel like I could finish the rest of this today, because I would really like to finish one of the 100 books that I have started. So I'm going to finish Esperanza Rising before I start Cemetery Boys. That's the plan. That's probably what I'll do between classes, since I have everything else set up for them. Remy has decided to join me now, so we've switched cats. That's totally fine. She doesn't really jump on my lap that much to begin with, and she's still a little bit shaky, so I had to pick her up, but she's been sitting at my feet a lot whenever Tonks isn't over here, because Tonks, even though Remy has been home for a few days, is still being a butthole and hissing at her. I hope she stops soon. But I am on page 179, so I'm over halfway done. I did not expect this to get this sad. Like, I knew that it was going to be at least a little bit intense. I mean, it started out pretty intense. And, like, I know historically what's going on. And I was wondering if they would mention people being deported, because during the Great Depression, there were just a shit ton of people who were deported, particularly Mexican people, some who were even, like, citizens, which I didn't know about until I took a graduate level class on race, which is ridiculous that I did not learn that sooner. So I like that they at least mentioned that, and the discussion of strikes and stuff like that, and how complicated it can be to join, especially when you need money. It's an interesting conversation, and I'm interested to see where it's going to go or how far they're going to take that. It's good, but it is sadder, and it talks about more issues than I thought that it might, which is good. I am hoping that there are two potentially sad things happening, and at least one of them needs to resolve in order for it to be, like, not depressing, because I think that for, like, a young reader's story, they wouldn't just leave it as, like, really sad. I don't think that they would have a sad ending. Well, we'll see. It could surprise me, I suppose. But yeah, it's good. I really like the age range that this seems, and I was trying to figure out what age this was for, because the writing is pretty simple, but the issues, the way that they're handling them is actually really good. They're more intense than what I'm used to with this young of readers, but I do still think that they're handling it in a way that makes the issues seem real without them being, like, overwhelming. Scholastic website says it's 3rd to 5th grade or 6th to 8th grade, which is, like, I think I was 11 in 5th grade, so, like, 8 to 11, and then, like, 11 to 13. I think that this would probably be in the younger range, probably, like, maybe, like, 8 to, maybe, like, 7 or 8 to, like, 10 or 11, but obviously that depends on your reading level and whatnot. But regardless, I think this is good. Complicated issues, handled well, a part of history that well, at least I didn't learn about. That's where I'm at. That's where we're at. Isn't that right, Remy? You know, it occurs to me that I think this might be the second book that well, maybe third book that I've read that talks in detail about strikes, like workers' strikes, like in the workers' movement. In general, the labor movement is not something that I have a lot of experience with. Like, I've heard about, like, Jane Addams, and I know that the feminist movement had something to do with some of the laws changing, and oh, bless you. But as far as, like, workers' strikes go, I don't really know a whole lot, but this year I've read 3 books that mention it. One of them was a textbook, so it was just a section, but I think this is the second book that I have read with an in-detail description of what it's like to be in the middle of one. The first one was Stone Butch Blues. So it's really interesting on a few levels thinking about that. It also had never occurred to me that immigration could would potentially use like people who are striking as, like, an opportunity to take them away, because, like, I literally just said that they, took away a bunch of people. They deported tons of people, but I didn't even think about the fact that that could be, in part, a way to control workers that were demanding more. That's some shit. That's some shit that I need to add to my reading list, too, because I know that I have at least one book up there about the labor movement. On top of some of the stuff that I'm looking at about, like, Marxism and some other things, but that's not quite the same thing. So, I did not expect a middle grade book to bring up the labor movement. This is actually really intense, and I have a class that starts in, like, 20 minutes, and this stink needs more medicine before that, so I'm gonna have to get to a good stopping point, but this is an impressive book. I finished Esperanza Rising, and overall I was really surprised by it. I didn't really know what to expect going in because I think I probably mentioned that I got a copy of it forever ago, and I've since like kind of forgotten most of what I thought when I first heard about it. But I think it's a really great historical fiction for probably like 3rd to 5th grade, depending on, reading level and whatever. I was really impressed with what all they included, like I've mentioned, like the conversation on classism and racism, and they did put in some of those details from Mexican repatriation, and she actually does talk about some of those historical facts in her author's note, and also how it's connected to her personally, since she, like, her grandmother or great grandmother came to America at around this time. So that was really interesting. Overall, I think this is great, especially if you have a kid around this age. I would highly recommend it. I think that it can lead to a lot of really great conversations that need to happen. Like I said before, I knew nothing about the Mexican repatriation until grad school, and even then, it was something that was mentioned in a couple of the books that we read in that race class, but it was not a central point. Mostly because that class focused more on African Americans, and we also talked about whiteness, and we mentioned other groups as well, but we didn't hear, I guess, as much about individual histories of other groups. For reference, if anybody is interested in reading books that mention that and that really talk about whiteness, really is what they're focused on in the United States on a broader level, Working Towards Whiteness by David Roediger. I remember this book less, so I should probably reread it, but I know that this one talks about it, and this is looking at how like groups that used to not be considered white ended up being integrated into whiteness, and kind of what the process of that was. And then there is also White by Law by Haney Lopez, and this specifically looks at how race was built into law on multiple levels, so like individual laws and policy, and also like court cases and things like that. There's that if anyone is interested. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I think that it was really well balanced for a young reader's book. Well balanced in terms of showing and telling, well balanced in terms of dealing with things on a serious level, but it not being super overwhelming. Yeah. And I think this is where I'm going to end this vlog, because I am going to start Cemetery Boys, but I think a week of vlogging is probably enough for what's going to end up being one video. I don't know how long it's going to be. It's probably going to be a little unruly, but that's fine. I hope you all got something out of this. If you have stayed to this point, congratulations, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.